Let's begin today's discussion on the Chicago Bears' recent moves with a question about the team. I've noticed the Bears are facing a challenging situation after a recent signing, and I imagine they might be considering selecting a player at the 10th pick this year or perhaps opting for a guard in the second round, possibly picking an athlete in the first. Personally, I would lean towards them picking a player who could play tackle, especially given that the left tackle position is somewhat unstable. I believe there's a particular athlete in a favorable position to secure his spot this year, but the question is whether he will remain a starter long-term, considering he suffered a serious leg injury. Let's see how this situation evolves. It's clear that selecting a player in the first round is a real possibility, as are other names in the mix. What happens with the upcoming picks will be intriguing to follow, but if they choose an offensive lineman, I hope it's someone capable of playing left tackle. Now, regarding the playing time of an athlete this year, with the addition of a new player and the likely selection of another defensive end in the draft, he'll have to fight for space. Currently, it seems he'll be third in the edge rotation, behind two other players. He's been training alongside these athletes, which is a positive sign for his development, but he needs to add some mass, particularly in the lower body. I hope he can focus on that. Of course, they will also likely draft another player, and another athlete will play a more interior role, which will affect the number of snaps available for the edges. At this point, I see him positioned as the third or fourth in the rotation, and he'll need to compete with the draft pick to establish himself as the primary backup, so he will need to earn his place on the field. A full year in the league will certainly benefit him. Now, if you had to pick a player that definitely shouldn't be selected, who would it be? Is there anyone you are ready to say should not be chosen? He will have to prove himself worthy of playing time, and an entire offseason after a year in the NFL should greatly benefit his development. Can you name a player that you would prefer the team to avoid drafting? Who do you strongly feel should not be selected? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Having seen highlights of two particular players, I'd feel comfortable picking either one of them in the second round. If some running backs aren't available on the second day, you'd likely prefer those two athletes. Many running backs can be found in the second round, following those two at the 39th and 41st picks. I believe there's another player worth considering by various teams, but I'm not fond of this pick here since the team already has a player with a similar skill set. I prefer to see a different skill set that complements the current player, as I don't think this option adds enough stylistic variation. Regarding another candidate, I feel that 39 and 41 might be too early for him. I really like another player, but I think he is better suited for the third round. This also applies to several others. There are many athletes I value in the third round following those two, including a notable standout from a prestigious university. In my view, the tiers are organized with the first player as the primary choice, followed by the second. Both are talented enough to be first-round picks. The other two are also part of that group, but are not considered early second-day selections for the team. There are also several prospects anticipated for the third round. If you want to add another player, I think he fits into that category. I perceive a drop in talent after the top four. There's consideration that if Simmons doesn't advance to the second day, it might be advantageous to trade the 33rd pick, as he represents a valuable opportunity. There's a belief that he's part of a group of athletes that could attract interest if he stays out of the first round. Teams are likely to start reaching out, especially with the Browns' pick at 33. A recent report raised potential concerns about his attitude, though it's hard to determine the veracity of that information. Many speculations tend to emerge at this time of year. Simmons is undoubtedly a talented athlete, having been projected as one of the top 10 options before suffering a knee injury. So, whenever a player of this caliber is considered for the second round, it's wise to investigate and show interest. Being part of a community of nearly 120,000 members is certainly an attractive prospect. This is an exciting journey, and there's an expectation that this path could lead to achievements this year. The possibility of returning to the top of the second round could be analyzed if a partner emerges. The proposal would be to select Z and another offensive lineman with pick number 39 or 41, along with a defender or a running back with the remaining pick. There are uncertainties about Z's position, and the situation with the starting center and guards is a concern as he might not adapt as a tackle in the NFL. Therefore, having a strategy for him to start, at least by 2026, is essential, not viewing him just as a one-season player. The question remains about the position he'll play and what the plan is regarding that. As for the type of development expected for key players, the hope is for significant progress, especially regarding Caleb, who should establish himself as one of the top 8 quarterbacks in the league by the end of the year. While he shouldn't be placed among the best at his position right now, the goal is for there to be no doubt by the end of his second year that he's the franchise quarterback. Returning to the competition, it's important to evaluate his position compared to his peers. He could be the 13th quarterback in performance, and my expectation is that by the end of his second year, there will be no doubt he'll become the team's iconic player. This question remains open, which is common for many rookies who often take until their second year to feel confident. Not many athletes can have seasons like Jaden Daniels had last year or C.J. Stroud had 2 years ago, and even Stroud had a bit of a drop in performance last year. I think we've seen enough positive from Caleb's rookie season for him to stand out if he makes some adjustments, particularly by improving his field vision and having a stronger offensive line. Moreover, the quality of his footwork is crucial. I believe his movement contributed to some inaccurate and inconsistent passes on deep throws, which we know he's capable of making, as shown throughout his college career. So, I expect significant progress in executing those skills, even though it's tough to quantify them. I hope he makes a big leap and that other players also shine. I also have high expectations for DJ to improve this year in a more efficient offense. I'm also looking forward to seeing Rome. Among all the offensive components I expect to improve, of course, we want to see Caleb, but we believe Rome could have an exceptional year. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits the 1,200-yard mark. I believe he's going to have a truly remarkable season. Managing all these issues, making sure customer service is handled on your behalf. In case you notice your phone bill is too high, it's simple. Just take a picture of it and upload it to the app. There's a chance they'll find a better option for you. It might be necessary to switch providers, but in the long run, this could result in financial savings. The app offers basic banking features that I find more accessible compared to my usual banking app, and I imagine yours might be similar. It will alert you about future automatic payments, allow you to track your credit in real time, and help manage your budgets, sending reminders throughout the week and month. Personally, I find this extremely useful. As someone responsible for a mortgage and various bills, it helps me stay organized. This app could offer the same support to you. You can start using it. Eliminate unnecessary spending on services you don't use and cancel subscriptions you no longer want. It has already helped customers save $500 million just from canceling subscriptions, with members saving up to $740 annually. Now, speaking of an interesting player, could Wyatt Milum be a surprise in this draft? Is there a chance of a trade for him if he isn't selected as an offensive lineman in the first round? I believe his selection will likely occur around the 3rd or 4th round. I don't see him as a tackle in the professional league, but rather as a solid backup capable of playing all 5 positions. He played tackle at West Virginia University, and his arm length is slightly below 33 inches, but I think he can deliver good performances, although probably not as a full-time starter. He had some chances as a center during the Senior Bowl, and I spoke with him recently on Big 12 Pro Day, where he mentioned being comfortable in that position. He's been working on improving his snap for over a year, which shows promising vision, considering teams could evaluate him as a center in the league. I believe he has the necessary skills to also play as a guard. So, the challenge is whether he can develop into a good backup who could eventually stand out in a specific position. This is still a real possibility. If you can negotiate down at any point and pick up an additional choice in the middle rounds, the 3rd or 4th round would be the ideal time to focus on him. Do you think he could be a good player for the roster who could eventually become a starter over time? I think this is a relevant question, especially in the 3rd or 4th rounds, particularly if you can negotiate and acquire an extra pick in the middle of the round. This is when I would consider selecting Jacob Stark. The odds show that the Bears are predicted to win 8.5 games. What do you think? I'll need to examine the schedule. Looking at it in isolation, I believe the Bears have the potential to be a team with more than 9 wins. The schedule might prove tough, as they'll face NFC East and AFC North. Even with an NFC schedule that seems less complicated, they'll still face the 49ers, who are recovering, as well as a game against Carolina, which showed strength at the end of last season. Even the Saints are not totally ineffective, so I don't see an easy schedule ahead. Often, we underestimate the schedule, thinking it will be a simple task. But for example, last year the Bears started with the second easiest schedule based on opponent win percentage, and it turned out to be the second toughest. So it's hard to predict. This year, I believe the division will be a little easier, so the 8.5-win mark seems reasonable. I can't say Walter Payton is the best, as I wasn't alive during his era, but I definitely watched many of his best moments. I can make a strong case that he's the greatest Bears player of all time, but my personal idol is Devin Hester, as I grew up watching him on the field, the greatest returner the sport has ever seen. So, share with us who your favorite player is. If Carter is available at pick 5, would you be willing to trade the 39th pick and a first-round pick next year to get him? Or would you prefer to keep the 10th spot? I wouldn't trade the 39th pick and a first-round pick next year for Abdul Carter. I have great respect for the player, but that would be excessive. If the offer were just next year's first-round pick and the 39th pick, I'd consider it, but I'm not sure the Bears would accept. I'm also unsure if the team negotiating for Carter would accept this proposal without receiving a first-round pick this year. Would Jacksonville be willing to forego that first-round pick entirely? I'm not sure. He's a notable player, but I don't think he'll make it to the 5th pick. It would be important to know if you're including the 10th pick in this negotiation. Getting Carter would certainly change the situation, but would Jacksonville be willing to forego this year's first-round pick? That's uncertain. He's an incredible player, but I don't think he'll make it to the 5th pick, and I need to know if you're considering the 10th pick as well, as that seems a bit much. Regarding the question about the highest possible pick to trade for a receiver, I'm working on a mock draft, and I might go for a higher receiver pick than you expect, something I haven't done often in my past drafts, so stay tuned for that. I'd say the second round would probably be the maximum limit. I can't imagine a scenario where the Bears pick a receiver at the 10th spot or even trade down in the first round, but I could see a second or third round pick if there's a player they really like and consider a great long-term addition to the offense. Of course, we have our two main talents, but there are uncertainties beyond that. Zach Hughes had an impressive performance, but historically he's shown more as a type 4 player than 3. So, if there's someone you admire and think is worth selecting, that can really be considered. However, personally, I wouldn't do that in the first round. If you have any other unanswered questions, you know where to find me on social media. I'll be keeping an eye on direct messages and will update over the weekend, so feel free to send your questions about the Bears. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. A storm of speculation has engulfed Chicago as rumors intensify about Montez Sweat's potential departure from the Bears. Despite signing a lucrative 4-year, $98 million extension just months ago, whispers around the league suggest that the Pro Bowl defensive end could be on the move again. With Sweat's dominant presence transforming the Bears' defense and his immediate impact evident, the mere thought of his exit has left fans and analysts scrambling for answers. Could Chicago truly be considering parting ways with their prized mid-season acquisition? Sweat's arrival in Chicago was nothing short of a defensive revolution. His presence, dubbed the Tez Effect by head coach Matt Eberflus, turned a struggling unit into a formidable force. Posting a career-high 12.5 sack split between Washington and Chicago in 2023, Sweat's ability to pressure quarterbacks and disrupt offenses made him invaluable. Given his instant success and the high price the Bears paid to acquire him, the idea of moving on from Sweat so soon raises more questions than answers. One possible explanation for the rumors is Chicago's long-term roster strategy. With the Bears aiming to build a sustainable contender, financial flexibility remains a key factor. While Sweat's extension was meant to secure a defensive cornerstone, the emergence of other pressing needs, especially on offense, could be forcing the front office to reassess priorities. Could the Bears be weighing the benefits of recouping assets over maintaining one of their top defensive stars? Another layer to the speculation involves interest from other teams. Elite pass rushers are a rare commodity in the NFL, and Sweat's production has undoubtedly turned heads across the league. If a team desperate for defensive reinforcements were to present an irresistible trade offer, Chicago's front office might have a difficult decision to make. However, given the investment made in Sweat, any potential suitor would likely need to pay a premium price. For now, the rumors remain just that, rumors. Sweat is still a Bear, and his impact on the defense remains unquestioned. But with the NFL offseason heating up and front offices exploring all possibilities, nothing is off the table. If there's one certainty in the league, it's that surprises are always around the corner. Will Montez Sweat remain the anchor of Chicago's defense? Or is another blockbuster move on the horizon? That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.